Commander Veltar stood in the center of the great meeting hall. His 6 legs clicked against the metal floor as he moved. The sound echoed in the large room. Around him, the most feared warriors in the galaxy waited in silence. The Galactic Council had called them here for something strange, something that had never happened before. The humans wanted to show them their home. Veltar's insect-like eyes moved across the room. He saw Warsinger Cross, the giant reptile warrior whose claws could cut through steel. The Bruthan's yellow eyes glowed in the dim light. Next to him sat strategist Nith, whose crystal body reflected the room's lights like a rainbow. The Velnari was known for planning battles that won entire wars. These were not ordinary soldiers. These were the champions of their species. Each one had fought in dozens of wars. Each one had conquered worlds. But today, they all felt something they rarely experienced. They felt curious. Captain Wu Jin walked into the room. He was human. He looked so small compared to the alien warriors. His dark hair was neat and he wore a simple blue uniform. He smiled as he approached the group. "Thank you all for coming," Wu Jin said. His voice was calm and friendly. "I know this meeting is unusual." Warsinger Cross leaned forward. His massive head tilted to one side. "Human," he growled, his voice deep like thunder. "Your people have hidden from us for 50 years. Why do you want to show us your world now?" Wu Jin's smile grew wider. "We think it's time. The war is over. We should learn about each other." Strategist Nith's crystal body hummed softly. When she spoke, her voice sounded like singing glass. "We have heard stories about your world. They say it is a death world. They say nothing should be able to live there." "Oh, that," Wu Jin laughed. "People always say that, but it's really not that bad. We've been living there just fine." The alien warriors looked at each other. For years, they had heard whispers about the humans. Stories said they came from a planet so dangerous that just surviving there was impossible. The gravity was too strong. The weather was too wild. The air was poison to most life forms. But the humans had not just survived. They had become strong. Very strong. When they finally joined the galactic community, they quickly became known as the best fighters. They never seemed afraid. They never gave up. They treated impossible situations like simple problems. Commander Veltar clicked his mandibles together. "What exactly do you want to show us?" "Just a normal neighborhood," Wu Jin said. "Nothing special, some families, some houses. Maybe you can meet some kids." The alien warriors were confused. They had expected to see military bases. They thought they would visit weapon factories or training camps. But Wu Jin was talking about families and children. Dr. Subin entered the room. She was a small human woman with kind eyes. She carried a large bag filled with data tablets. "Hello, everyone," she said. "I'm here to help explain some things about human culture." She walked to the front of the room and activated a holographic display. Images of humans appeared in the air. "Before we visit, I should tell you about some of our customs." The first image showed humans greeting each other. "We shake hands when we meet. We smile to show we are friendly. We often offer food to guests." Warsinger Cross snorted. "Food? What kind of food do Deathworlders eat?" Subin paused. "Well, we eat many things. Fruits, vegetables, meat. We cook most of it." "Cook?" Neith's crystal body flashed with confusion. "You mean you heat it? Why?" "It tastes better that way," Subin said simply. The aliens looked worried. They knew that most species ate their food raw or processed it with special chemicals. Heating food was dangerous. It could create toxins. Subin continued her presentation. She showed images of human homes. "We live in houses made of wood, stone, or metal, usually one family per house. Sometimes we have gardens." "Gardens?" Veltar's eyes widened. "You grow plants near where you sleep?" "Yes, many humans enjoy gardening. We grow flowers and vegetables." The aliens were shocked. Plants were dangerous. They carried diseases. They attracted insects and other pests. Most species kept plants far away from their living areas. "What about protection?" Cross asked. "Where are your walls?" Your shields? Subin looked confused. Protection from what? From your death world, Cross roared. From the storms and the predators and the poison air. Oh, Subin laughed. We don't really need protection from those things. Our houses are pretty strong, and the air isn't poison to us. Strategist Ninth's body hummed louder. Her tactical mind was working hard. How many soldiers live in each house? Soldiers? Subin looked surprised. None. Just families. Parents and children. Children? All three alien warriors spoke at once. Yes, human children. They're quite lovely, very energetic. The aliens could not believe what they were hearing. Humans kept their young on a death world. They let them live in houses with no protection. They grew dangerous plants nearby. And they did all of this, without any soldiers to guard them. Captain Wu Jin stepped forward again. So, would you like to visit? We have a nice little colony called New Seoul. It's very peaceful. Commander Veltar looked at his fellow warriors. Warsinger Cross was flexing his claws nervously. Strategist Ninth's crystal body was flickering rapidly as she tried to process this information. We accept, Veltar said finally. But we will. Bring our full combat gear. Of course, Wu Jin nodded. Bring whatever makes you comfortable, though I should warn you the kids might be curious about your equipment. The children will approach us? Cross's voice cracked slightly. Oh yes, Subin smiled. Human children love meeting new people. They'll probably want to ask you lots of questions. The three alien warriors stared at each other in horror. Not only did humans live unprotected on a death world, but their young were so fearless that they would approach unknown alien warriors. What kind of species were these humans? What kind of world had created beings so strange and so brave? They were about to find out. As the meeting ended, each warrior made private preparations. They checked their weapons 3 times. They tested their armor systems. They reviewed their emergency protocols. They had no idea that all of their preparations would be completely useless for what they were about to see. The transport ship would arrive tomorrow. Soon, they would witness something that would change their understanding of the galaxy forever. They would see what Deathworlders called home. The transport ship broke through the atmosphere of Kepler 442b. Inside, the 3 alien warriors sat in their full combat gear. Their weapons were charged. Their shields were active. They were ready for war. Commander Veltar checked his readings for the 10th time. The numbers made his insect brain hurt. The gravity on this world was 30% stronger than galactic standard. The atmospheric pressure would crush most species. The radiation from the local star was intense enough to cook most known life forms. Landing in 60 seconds, announced the ship's computer. Warsinger Cross flexed his massive claws. His reptilian body was covered in the finest Bruthan battle armor. Energy fields glowed around his scales. I still cannot believe they live here, he growled. Strategist Nith's crystal body was dim with worry. Her tactical computers were running constant calculations. Every scan of the planet below showed the same result. This world was impossible to live on. Perhaps, Ninth said in her glass-like voice, we will finally understand why humans are such fierce warriors. Any species that survives here must be incredibly strong. The ship touched down with a soft bump. Through the windows, the aliens could see their destination. They had expected to land at a military base or a survival bunker. Instead, they saw something that made no sense. Houses. Regular houses. With windows and doors and small yards. They looked almost normal. Captain Wu Jin's voice came through the communication system. Welcome to New Seoul Colony. Please follow me when you exit. The weather is quite nice today. The 3 warriors looked at each other. Nice weather. On a death world. The ship's door opened. Immediately, alarms began ringing in their armor systems. The air outside was filled with things that should have killed them instantly. But the humans had said it was nice weather. Engineer Taeho was waiting for them outside. He was a young human male with a friendly smile. He wore no armor, no protective suit, just simple clothes and strange shoes with thick soles. Hello, Taeho called out cheerfully. I hope your trip was comfortable. Let me show you around our little neighborhood. Warsinger Cross stepped carefully onto the ground. His armor immediately began warning him about dangerous atmospheric conditions. The air contained water vapor, nitrogen, oxygen, and dozens of trace chemicals that would poison most life forms. But Tejo was breathing it freely. First, let me point out some of our safety features, Tejo said as he began walking. See those drainage ditches along the road? Those are for when we get heavy rains. Strategist Ninth's computers analyzed the drainage system. The water flow. Calculations showed that these heavy rains would be classified as dangerous flood conditions on most worlds. Heavy rains? Ninth asked. Oh yes, Tejo nodded. During storm season, we can get 20 centimeters of rain in 1 hour. The drains keep it from flooding the houses. 20 centimeters in 1 hour. Commander Veltar's sensors confirmed that such rainfall would be lethal to most civilizations. The water would carry diseases, toxins, and enough force to destroy buildings. They walked past a row of houses. Each one looked peaceful and quiet. Small plots of land surrounded them. Green plants grew everywhere. Those are gardens, Tejo explained, pointing to the green areas. Most families like to grow their own vegetables and flowers. Warsinger Cross stopped walking. His yellow eyes stared at the plants. Those are alive, he said. Yes, of course they're alive, Tejo laughed. That's the point of gardening. But they are not contained, Cross said. His voice was getting higher with panic. They are growing freely. They could spread diseases. They could attract predators. Tejo looked confused. Well, yes, sometimes. We get bugs in the garden, but that's normal. Bugs. The humans said bugs like they were not dangerous, but the alien scanners were detecting movement all around them. Small creatures were crawling through the plants and flying through the air. Any one of them could carry deadly viruses or inject poison. Here's Mrs. Park's house, Tejo said, pointing to a blue building. She grows the most beautiful roses, though you have to be careful of the thorns. The alien stared at the house. In the front yard, red flowers grew on green bushes. The flowers were pretty, but the alien's scanners detected something horrible. The plants were armed. Sharp spines covered the stems. The spines were strong enough to puncture skin and inject plant toxins. Armed defensive plants, Nith whispered. They are growing biological weapons in their yards. What? Tejo turned around. Oh, you mean the roses? Yes, they have thorns, but they're worth it. They smell wonderful. A sound made all three alien. Warriors freeze. It was high-pitched and getting closer. Their weapons automatically powered up. Mommy, look at the cool aliens. A small human came running toward them. It was no bigger than Veltar's leg. It had tiny arms and legs and a round face. This must be one of the human young that Dr. Subin had mentioned. The child ran directly at Warsinger Cross, who stood over, 3 meters tall and was covered in battle armor that could stop plasma weapons. Wow, you're so big, the child said, looking up at Cross with bright eyes. Are you a dinosaur? Cross stumbled backward. His combat training had prepared him to fight armies, but nothing had prepared him for this. A human child was approaching him without fear. On a death world, where the air was poison and the plants were armed. Ginny, come back here, called a woman's voice. A human female walked quickly toward them. She was not wearing armor either. I'm sorry, she said to the aliens. My daughter gets excited about meeting new people. The woman picked up the small human. The child continued to stare at the alien warriors with curiosity instead of terror. That's perfectly fine, Tejo said. Everyone, this is Mrs. Lee and her daughter Jinne. They live just down the street. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Lee said politely. She seemed completely calm about talking to 3 heavily armed alien warriors on what her own species called a death world. Nice aliens, Jinne said happily. Do you want to see my bug collection? Bug collection. The child collected the disease-carrying creatures as entertainment. Commander Veltar felt his legs getting weak. Your young collect dangerous. Insects? Oh, they're not dangerous, Mrs. Lee laughed. Just beetles and butterflies. Ginny loves studying them. A loud rumbling sound filled the air. The aliens immediately took defensive positions, weapons ready. But Tejo just looked up at the sky and frowned. "Looks like we might get some rain this afternoon," he said. "The clouds are building up pretty thick." The aliens looked up. Dark masses of water vapor were gathering above them. The atmospheric pressure was dropping. Wind was starting to move the armed plants in the yards. "Should we seek shelter?" Veltar asked. "Nah," Tejo shrugged. "It's just a little storm, though we should probably head inside anyway. I want to show you a real human home, a little storm." The aliens' equipment was detecting wind speeds that could knock down trees and electromagnetic activity that could disrupt technology. As they walked toward the houses, more human children appeared. They came running from different directions, all wanting to see the visitors. None of them showed any fear. They laughed and pointed and asked questions. "Why do you have so many eyes?" one child asked Veltar. "Can you really cut through metal?" another asked Cross. "Do you eat rocks?" a third asked Nith. The parents followed behind their children. They seemed mildly embarrassed but not worried. They treated the situation like their children were simply being impolite, not like they were approaching deadly alien warriors. "This is impossible," Nith said quietly to her companions. "These beings live in conditions that would require military support on any civilized world, but they treat it like it is normal." "Look at their children," Cross whispered back. "They have no fear. They approach unknown dangers like they are playing games." "And their infrastructure," Veltar added. "Those drainage systems, those reinforced foundations. They have built military-grade defenses and they call them neighborhood features." Tejo stopped at a white house with a red door. "Here we are," he said. "The Kim family has agreed to let you visit their home. I think you'll find it very interesting." The alien warriors looked at the house. It appeared to be a simple dwelling, but their scanners detected reinforced walls, impact-resistant windows, and structural supports that could withstand forces strong enough to level cities. What kind of home needed to be built like a fortress just to be considered safe? They were about to find out. The red door opened and a smiling human face appeared. "Welcome to our home," said Mr. Hyunwoo. "Please come in. My wife is making coffee." Coffee? Even the aliens knew about coffee. It was a stimulant so powerful that most species considered it a dangerous drug. The humans drank it for pleasure. As they approached the door, Commander Veltar realized something that made his insect blood run cold. This was not a survival outpost or a military installation. This was what humans considered a normal, peaceful home, and they were about to go inside. Mr. Hyunwoo opened the door wider and stepped aside. "Please come in," he said with a warm smile. "Don't worry about your boots. We're used to cleaning up after visitors." The three alien warriors stepped carefully through the doorway. Inside the house, their sensors immediately began detecting new threats. The air contained microscopic particles from cooking, cleaning chemicals, and biological matter from the humans themselves. But the humans lived here. They breathed this air every day. "Ji-young," Hyunwoo called out. "Our guests are here." A woman's voice answered from another room. "Coming, I just finished making fresh coffee." Commander Veltar's mandibles clicked nervously. He had heard about human coffee. It was a chemical stimulant so strong that it would be classified as a combat drug by most civilizations. Humans drank it every morning like it was water. Mrs. Ji-young appeared in the doorway. She was wiping her hands on a small cloth. Her face was slightly red and steam was rising from the room behind her. "Welcome to our home," she said cheerfully. "I hope you like coffee. I made it extra strong today." Extra strong. Warsinger Cross felt his scales shiver. Regular human coffee could already kill most aliens. Extra strong coffee might be lethal even to him. "Thank you," Veltar managed to say. "But we cannot consume human beverages." "Oh, that's fine," Ji-young said. "Would you like to see the kitchen anyway? I was just finishing lunch." She led them into the next room. The alien warriors followed slowly, their weapons scanning for threats. The kitchen was like nothing they had ever seen. Open flames burned. Under metal containers Water was boiling at temperatures hot enough to severely injure most life forms. Sharp metal tools hung on the walls within easy reach. Ji-young walked casually among these dangers. She stirred boiling liquids with her bare hands, holding tools made of metal that conducted heat. Steam rose around her as she worked. "I'm making soup," she explained. "The vegetables come from our garden out back." Strategist Nith's crystal body flickered rapidly. You grow your own food?" "Of course," Ji-young smiled. "It tastes so much better when it's fresh, and gardening is relaxing." The aliens stared, in horror. Humans grew their food in the same soil where dangerous microorganisms lived. They ate plants that absorbed toxins from the ground and the poisonous air. "Mommy!" a small voice called from upstairs. "Can I show the aliens my room?" "Ask them nicely, Boram," Ji-young called back. A young human appeared at the top of a set of stairs. She looked to be about 12 years old. She practically bounced with excitement as she ran down to meet them. "Hi, I'm Boram," she said, looking up at the massive alien warriors without any trace of fear. "Want to see my room? I have a pet." A pet. Young humans kept dangerous animals as companions. "What kind of pet?" Cross asked carefully. "A hamster. His name is Kokoma. He's really cute." Boram grabbed Veltar's armored hand and started pulling him toward the stairs. The insect warrior was so shocked by her fearlessness that he let himself be led. Up the stairs they went. The aliens noticed that the stairs were built to handle heavy impacts and sudden weight changes. On most worlds, such construction would be used for military buildings. "Here's my room," Boram announced, opening a door. The alien warriors peered inside. The room was full of items that made their threat detectors scream warnings. Sharp pencils that could be used as weapons. Books made of processed wood pulp that contained chemical treatments. Art supplies with pigments toxic to most life forms, and in one corner, a small cage. "That's Kokoma," Boram said proudly. Inside the cage was a small furry creature. It looked harmless enough, but the alien scanners revealed the truth. This tiny animal had teeth that could bite through substances harder than most armor. Its jaw muscles were proportionally stronger than those of apex predators on a dozen worlds. "He's friendly," Boram said, opening the cage. "Want to pet him?" The hamster climbed onto her hand. Its small black eyes looked up at the alien warriors. For a moment, Cross was certain the creature was evaluating them as potential threats. Does it bite?" Nith asked. "Only if you scare him," Boram laughed. "But Koma is very brave. He's not scared of anything." A creature that could bite through armor was not scared of anything. On this death world, even the pets were fearless. "Boram, let our guests see the rest of the house," Hyunwoo called from downstairs. "Okay, Daddy." Boram put Koma back in his cage. "Want to see my brother's room? He has even cooler stuff." She led them to another room. This one belonged to Minho, who was only 6 years old. The aliens expected to see safer items, things appropriate for a very young human. Instead, they found building blocks made of materials, harder than most spaceship hulls. Toy vehicles designed to survive impacts that would destroy real vehicles on other worlds. And art supplies containing chemicals that would require hazmat protocols on most civilized planets. "Minho likes to build things," Boram explained. "Last week he made a castle. It was so strong that Daddy couldn't knock it down even when he tried really hard." A 6-year-old human child had access to construction materials that adults on other worlds would handle with extreme caution. "Where is Minho now?" Veltar asked. "Outside playing," Boram said. "Want to see?" She led them to a window. Outside they could see a small human child running around the yard. He was chasing flying insects with a net, laughing as he tried to catch them. The insects he was chasing were native to this death world. Each one carried bacteria and toxins that could harm most known species. But the child treated them like entertainment. "He's collecting them for school," Boram explained. "We're learning about local wildlife." Local wildlife. The dangerous creatures of this planet were studied by children as part of their education. "Come see the basement," Hyunwoo said, appearing in the doorway. "I have my workshop down there." They queue. followed him downstairs to a room filled with tools and equipment, power tools that could cut through metal, chemical solvents that could dissolve most known materials, electrical devices that generated enough power to run small cities. I work on terraforming projects, Hyunwoo explained casually. Sometimes, I bring work home. Terraforming. The process of changing entire planets to make them livable. Humans did this as a hobby in their basement workshops. These chemicals, Nith said, pointing to rows of containers. They are extremely dangerous. Oh, these? Hyunwoo looked at the containers. They're just standard terraforming compounds. I keep them locked up when the kids are home from school. Standard compounds. Substances that could reshape the chemistry of entire worlds were considered standard by humans. Speaking of the kids, Ji-young called from upstairs. Dinner will be ready soon. You're welcome to stay and watch us eat. The aliens looked at each other nervously. They had heard about human eating habits. Humans consumed foods at temperatures that would burn most aliens. They ate animals that had been exposed to this world's dangerous environment. They used spices that were toxic to most life forms. We would be honored, Veltar said, though his voice shook slightly. They returned to the kitchen. Ji-young was preparing food on surfaces hot enough to cook flesh. She handled boiling liquids and sharp knives like they were harmless toys. Min-ho came running in from outside. His clothes were dirty from playing in the toxic soil. His hands carried traces of the dangerous plants he had been touching, but he simply washed them in water and sat down at the table. Did you catch any bugs? Bo-ram asked her little brother. 3 beetles and a butterfly, Min-ho said proudly. Teacher says we need 10 different species for our project. 10 different species of Deathworld creatures. For a school project, the family sat down to eat. They consumed food that had been grown in poisonous soil, cooked at lethal temperatures, and seasoned with substances that would hospitalize most aliens. And they talked happily while they ate. How was work today? Ji-young asked her husband. Good, Hyunwoo replied. We finished the atmospheric processing unit for the new sector. Should make the air even cleaner. Even cleaner. The air on this world was already too toxic for most species and humans were working to improve it. That's wonderful, Ji-young smiled. Maybe we can take the kids camping there next weekend. Camping. Humans took their young children to sleep, outdoors on a death world, for fun. As the alien warriors watched the Kim family eat their dinner, a terrible realization began to form in their minds. This was not a survival outpost. These were not hardened military personnel. This was just a normal human family, living a normal life, on what they considered a normal world. And if this was normal for humans, what were they capable of when they actually tried to be dangerous? The alien warriors were beginning to understand why the galaxy had learned to fear the Deathworlders, but they had no idea that the worst was yet to come. After dinner, Hyunwoo looked out the window and smiled. The weather cleared up nicely. Would you like to see our community center? The kids have activities there tonight. The 3 alien warriors looked at each other. They had already seen enough horrors for one day. But they had come here to understand humans, and every new revelation was more shocking than the last. We would be interested to see more, Commander Veltar said, though his voice sounded tired. They walked through the neighborhood as the sun began to set. More humans were outside now, working in their dangerous gardens or playing with their children. Everyone they passed waved and smiled at the alien visitors. There it is, Hyunwoo said, pointing to a large building ahead, the New Seoul Community Center. It's the heart of our neighborhood. As they approached, they could hear sounds coming from inside, loud noises, shouting, and what sounded like impacts. Warsinger Cross tensed. Are they under attack? Attack? Hyunwoo laughed. No, that's just the kids playing soccer. They're pretty enthusiastic about it. They entered the building through glass doors that opened automatically. Inside, the aliens saw something that made their combat systems activate involuntarily. Human. Children were engaged in what could only be described as ritual combat. On a large field, 2 groups of young humans were fighting over a single object. They ran at high speeds directly into each other. They used their bodies to block and tackle. They showed no fear of injury as they threw themselves into dangerous collisions. Soccer is very popular here, Hyunwoo explained. Both my kids play. Strategist Nith watched in horror as a small human was knocked to the ground by a larger one. Instead of calling for help or retreating, the small human got up and immediately charged back into the battle. They are training for war, Nith whispered. Training? For war? Hyunwoo looked confused. No, they're just having fun. Soccer helps them stay healthy and make friends. Fun. Humans considered combat training to be entertainment. Dad. Boram came running over, her face red and sweating. Did you see my goal? I kicked it right past the keeper. I saw it, Hyunwoo said proudly. That was a great shot. Boram had used her foot to launch a projectile with enough force to overcome another human's defenses, and her father was proud of her combat skills. Want to see the playground? Boram asked the aliens. It's right outside. She led them through another door to an outdoor area. What the aliens saw there broke their understanding of reality completely. Human children were voluntarily subjecting themselves to torture devices. Metal. Structures designed to simulate falling. Rotating wheels that spun young humans at dangerous speeds. Platforms elevated high above the ground with no safety barriers, and the children were laughing. A small human hung from metal bars high above the ground, swinging from one to another, using only his hands. If he fell, he would hit the ground hard, enough to break bones. That's the monkey bars, Boram explained. They're really hard, I can only do 5 in a row. Another child was spinning on a circular platform that moved so fast it would cause vertigo in most species. She spun faster and faster until she finally stumbled off, dizzy and laughing. The merry-go-round is fun, Boram said. But you have to be careful not to throw up. Throw up. The device was so intense that it caused physical illness, and humans considered this acceptable. A group of older children was playing on a different field. They were engaged in an even more violent form of combat than soccer. They threw themselves at each other with full force, fighting for control of an oval-shaped object. What is that? Cross asked, his voice barely a whisper. Rugby, said a new voice behind them. They turned to see Security Chief Da-un approaching. She was a human female who walked with the confidence of a trained warrior. I used to play when I was younger. She watched the children slam into each other with bone-crushing force. Great sport, she said fondly. Really teaches you how to take a hit. How to take a hit. Humans trained their children to absorb damage and continue fighting. Is this normal? Veltar asked. Oh yes, Da-un nodded. Most kids play some kind of sport. It's good for them. Builds character. Character. Humans believed that surviving controlled violence made their children better people. A loud siren suddenly filled the air. The alien warriors immediately took defensive positions, weapons ready, but the humans just looked up at the sky with mild interest. Tornado warning, Da-un said calmly. Probably just a small one. We should head to the community shelter. Tornado, a weather phenomenon that could destroy entire cities, and humans called it small. This way, Da-un led them to a building marked with warning signs. Inside was a large room filled with supplies and equipment. We built this shelter last year, she explained. The old one wasn't quite big enough for our growing community. The aliens looked around the shelter. It was designed to withstand forces that could level mountains. The walls were thicker than most spaceship hulls. The ventilation system could filter out toxins that would kill most known life forms, and humans had built it for protection against their weather. How often do you use this? Nith asked. Oh, maybe once or twice a month during storm season, Da-un said. Sometimes more if we get a bad hurricane. Once or twice a month. Humans faced city-destroying weather events multiple times every few weeks. Other families began arriving at the shelter. They chatted casually as they settled in. Children played games, parents shared food and drinks. Mrs. Chen, Da-un called to an elderly woman. How's your garden doing after last week's hail? Lost most of my tomatoes, Mrs. Chen replied. But the roses survived. Those things are tougher than they look. Last week's hail, the humans discussed recent weather that had destroyed food supplies like it was a minor inconvenience. Mr. June, Da-un said to another man, Did you finish reinforcing? Your roof? Just finished yesterday, Mr. June nodded. Should be good for winds up to 200 kilometers per hour now. 200 kilometers per hour. Wind speeds that would be classified as weapons grade on most worlds. A small human tugged on Cross's armor. Mr. Alien, the child said, do you have storms on your planet too? Cross looked down at the small face. This child lived on a world where the weather could kill armies, and she was asking if other planets had storms too. Our weather is very calm, Cross managed to say. That sounds boring, the child said. Don't you miss the excitement? Excitement. Humans found deadly weather exciting. The siren stopped, and Dawn checked her communication device. All clear, she announced. False alarm, just some wind, just some wind. The alien sensors had detected atmospheric disturbances that would have required emergency evacuation on their homeworlds. As they left the shelter, Dawn continued her tour. Let me show you our emergency supplies warehouse, she said. The ice warehouse was filled with equipment that looked like military gear. Water purification systems that could handle the most toxic contamination. Food supplies that could sustain populations through extended disasters. Medical equipment designed to treat injuries that would be fatal on other worlds. We like to be prepared, Dawn explained. You never know when you might need something. Prepared. Humans maintained disaster response capabilities that exceeded most planetary defense systems. What kinds of emergencies do you prepare for? Veltar asked. Oh, the usual things, Dawn said. Earthquakes, floods, wildfires, landslides, volcanic eruptions, plague outbreaks, solar flares. She listed catastrophes that would end civilizations on other worlds like she was reading a grocery list. All of those happen here? Nith asked. Well, not all at once. Dawn laughed. Though we did have a pretty busy year a few cycles back. Earthquake in spring, big wildfire in summer, then flooding in the fall. A busy year. Multiple civilization-ending disasters in one year was considered busy, not catastrophic. As they walked back toward the houses, they passed a group of teenagers sitting around a fire. They were cooking food over open flames and telling stories. Camping club, Dawn explained. They go out into the wilderness every weekend. Wilderness. These young humans voluntarily went to the most dangerous parts of an already deadly world. What do they do out there? Cross asked. Hiking, swimming, rock climbing, that sort of thing, Dawn said. It's good exercise. Swimming in water filled with dangerous organisms, climbing rocks that could fall and crush them, hiking through areas filled with predators and toxins, for exercise. Commander Veltar felt his legs giving out. He sat down heavily on a nearby bench. His two companions joined him. For hours they had been seeing impossible things. Humans living unprotected, on a death world, children playing with dangerous creatures, families treating deadly weather like minor inconvenience, but now they understood the truth. This was not a death world to humans. This was home. They had evolved here. They belonged here. All the things that would kill other species were just part of their normal environment. And if this was what humans considered normal and safe, what were they capable of when they actually wanted to be dangerous? The alien warriors finally understood why the galaxy had learned to fear the Deathworlders. They were not just survivors. They were the apex species of the most hostile world anyone had ever imagined, and they did not even realize how terrifying they were. The sun was setting over New Sol Colony. The sky turned colors that the alien warriors had never seen before. Reds and oranges painted the clouds as the dangerous star of this death world slowly disappeared behind the horizon. The Kim family had invited everyone to their backyard for an evening gathering. Other families from the neighborhood joined them. Children ran around playing games while adults prepared food and talked. Commander Veltar, Warsinger Cross, and strategist Nith sat together on a wooden bench. Their armor systems had been giving them warnings all day. Their weapons had been detecting threats constantly, but the humans around them were completely relaxed. Let me start the fire, said Mr. Yunwoo. He walked to a circle of stones in the center of the yard. The alien warriors watched in amazement as he began building a controlled plasma reaction using nothing but dried plant matter and simple tools. Within minutes, flames were dancing in the stone circle. On most civilized worlds, open fire was strictly controlled. It was too dangerous for civilian use, but humans made fire in their backyards for fun. "Who wants to cook marshmallows?" asked Mrs. G. Young. She handed long metal sticks to the children. The human young took these primitive weapons and began inserting food onto the sharp ends. Then they held the food directly over the open flames, cooking it at temperatures that would seriously injure most species. "Be careful not to burn them," Ji Young warned her children, but being careful meant avoiding burns, not avoiding the deadly fire itself. Dr. Subin sat down next to the alien warriors. She had been quiet most of the day, watching their reactions to everything they saw. "How are you feeling?" she asked gently. "Confused," Veltar said honestly. "Everything we have seen today challenges what we thought we knew about survival." "We expected to see a military installation," Cross added. "We thought we would find soldiers living in bunkers, fighting to survive every day." Instead, Ninth said, her crystal body flickering softly, "We found families, children, people living peaceful lives in conditions that should have killed them all." Subin nodded. "I understand your confusion. We get that reaction from most alien visitors." "But how?" Veltar asked. "How do you live like this? How do your children survive in such dangerous conditions?" Subin looked around the yard. Children were laughing as they played games near the fire. Parents were sharing food and stories. Everything looked normal and peaceful. "I think," Subin said slowly, "the problem is in how you see our world. You call it a death world. You see danger everywhere, but we don't see danger. We see home." She pointed to the fire. "You see uncontrolled plasma that could burn us. We see warmth and light and a way to cook food." She pointed to the children running around. "You see young ones exposed to lethal conditions. We see kids having fun in their backyard." She pointed to the plants growing in the gardens. "You see armed biological weapons. We see pretty flowers." Warsinger Cross shook his massive head. "But the statistics are real. The gravity, the atmosphere, the radiation levels. These things would kill most species." "Yes," Subin agreed, "they would. But they don't kill us. We evolved here. Our bodies are designed for these conditions." A small human child ran up to them. It was Ginny, the little girl they had met earlier. She was holding something in her hands. "Look what I caught," she said proudly, opening her small palms. Inside was a flying insect with bright colors and delicate wings. The aliens' scanners immediately identified it as carrying multiple toxins and infectious agents. "A firefly," Ginny said happily. "Isn't it beautiful? Beautiful." The child found a dangerous disease vector beautiful. "Ginny," her mother called, "don't hold it too long. Let it go so it can find its friends." The child opened her hands, and the creature flew away into the darkening sky. More of them began appearing, blinking with bioluminescent signals that would be quarantine-level biohazards on most worlds. "Look at all the fireflies," Boram called out. "Let's catch some." The children began running around the yard, chasing the flying creatures with their bare hands. They laughed and played as toxic insects flew all around them. "This is what I mean," Subin said to the aliens. "You see biohazards. The children see magic." Engineer Tejo joined their conversation. "Dr. Subin is right," he said. "We don't think about the dangers because they're not dangerous to us. This is just how we live." "But your infrastructure," Nith protested. "Your buildings are fortified. Your drainage systems are military grade. Your emergency shelters could survive planetary bombardment." Tejo looked confused. "Military grade? Really? We just build things to last. You have to in this climate." "This climate," Cross repeated. "You mean the deadly weather that destroys cities?" "Well, yes." Tejo nodded. "The weather can be rough sometimes, so we build strong houses and have good emergency plans. Doesn't everyone? Doesn't everyone? Humans thought that surviving apocalyptic conditions was normal for all species." Captain Wu Jin appeared in the yard. He had been attending to official duties but came to join the evening gathering. "How has your visit been?" he asked the alien warriors. "Educational," Veltar said carefully. "Terrifying," Cross said honestly. "Impossible," Nuth added. Wu Jin laughed. "I'm glad you're enjoying it. We wanted to show you that humans are not so different from other species." Not so different. The aliens stared at him in disbelief. "Captain," Veltar said slowly, "do you understand what we have seen today?" "Of course," Wu Jin smiled. "A normal day in a normal neighborhood." "Normal," Cross repeated. "Captain, we have fought wars across 50 star systems. We have conquered planets and destroyed armies. But what we have seen here today is the most frightening thing any of us has ever witnessed." Wu Jin's smile faded. "Frightening? But why?" "We showed you the peaceful parts of our society." Strategist Knight's crystal body glowed brighter. "Captain, your children play games that would kill most adult aliens. Your families live in conditions that require military support on other worlds. Your weather is more dangerous than most weapons. And you treat all of this," Veltar continued, "like it is completely normal." "Because it is normal," Subin said, gently. "For us." Security Chief Dayun walked over to join the group. "Is everything all right? You all look very serious." "We were just explaining," Cross said, "that humans are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered." Dayun looked surprised. "Dangerous us, but we're having a peaceful barbecue." "That is exactly the point," Nith said. "You are having a peaceful barbecue in conditions that would require emergency evacuation on most worlds." Around them, the human families continued their evening activities. Children roasted food over open fire. Adults discussed their work in terraforming and disaster management like they were talking about gardening. Teenagers planned camping trips to areas that would be classified as hazardous waste zones on other planets. "We came here," Veltar said slowly, "expecting to learn about human military capabilities. We thought we would see weapons and fortifications, and soldiers. Instead," Cross continued, "we learned something much more important. We learned that humans don't need weapons to be dangerous. You are dangerous just by existing." "You have turned survival into an art form," Nith added. "You have made the impossible look easy. You have taken a world that should have killed you and turned it into a home." Wu Jin looked around at his neighbors and friends. "But this is just how we live. We're not trying to be dangerous or impressive." "That," Subin said quietly, "is what makes you so terrifying." The alien warriors sat in silence for a moment, watching the human families enjoy their evening. Children caught bioluminescent insects. Parents shared toxic beverages around an open fire. Everyone breathed poisonous air and walked on ground filled with dangerous microorganisms, and they were all completely happy. "I think I understand now," Veltar said finally, "why the galaxy learned to respect humans so quickly when you joined the galactic community." "It's not because you're aggressive," Cross added. "It's because you're impossibly resilient." "When other species encounter a problem," Nith said, "we retreat or call for help, or develop technology to protect us. When humans encounter a problem, you adapt to it. You make it part of your normal life." Da-Yun sat down with them. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "I never thought about it that way. But maybe you're right." She looked around the yard. "We do take a lot of things for granted, things that might seem impossible to others. The question is," Veltar said, "what are humans capable of when they actually try to be dangerous? If this is how you live when you're relaxed and peaceful, what happens when you're at war?" The humans looked at each other uncomfortably. They had never thought about their daily lives as being particularly impressive or dangerous. "Well," Wu Jin said slowly, "we prefer not to think about war. We'd rather focus on building homes and raising families." "And that," Cross said, "might be the most terrifying thing of all. You could probably conquer the galaxy if you wanted to, but you would rather grow gardens and play with your children." As the evening grew darker, the fireflies became more numerous. The air filled with blinking lights that created a magical display across the yard. The alien warriors watched in amazement as human children danced among creatures that carried enough toxins to poison entire cities. The children laughed and spun and reached toward the lights with pure joy.